Congratulations. You have now made it to Unit 2, Java. And we're going to begin to teach you the fundamentals and the principles of learning Java. Now, one of the things that you want to understand that there is a difference between Java and JavaScript. We will show you those differences in this particular unit. But again, you made it this far and you now have learned one programming language. Now you're about to learn another, which Java is an OOP, object-oriented programming language. That's server side. You've already learned client side. So now let's get into it. Okay, now we're in chapter 1 of Java. And here in this chapter, we're going to learn how to set up our environment, get our IntelliJ set up, our JDK. So we're going to take our time and go through this particular chapter. Now, as I begin to read through this chapter, understand something here. The way that I teach is for those who need a little bit more help. You may not like this style of teaching, and that's okay. But you can learn something from this style of teaching because I will explore and go in depth in things you may know or may not know, but you may help you to get a little bit more of an understanding. So who is this type of teaching for? One is for individuals where English is not their first language. As I go through and read through the curriculum, I read line by line. So that leads me to the next person who this is good for. The individual that hasn't been in school for a while, that may need a little bit more assistance by me reading through the curriculum and pointing out things that they may not be familiar with. If you're coming from Unit 1, you understand this. Because when you read through the curriculum, you glossed over a lot of information. Well, my job is to point out those small details that will be important for you to learn. Also, the next person that this is good for, the way that I teach, is for people that have learning challenges. If you're dealing with ADHD, this is good for you because why? I deal with ADHD. And one of the things about having ADHD is being able to stay focused and keeping your attention. Well, another thing is repetition. I point out things that you may gloss over to help you understand. Go back and look at this again. Remember, you're only going to retain maybe 5 or 10% of what you're learning. So the more that you go over it and repetition, the more you'll start remembering more and building your confidence. So let's get into the introduction of this first chapter. Why learn Java 1.1? This course is an introduction to Java and the Spring Boot framework. Java is a powerful programming language and one of the most widely used across the globe. This course is designed for learners who are already familiar with at least one programming language. It's okay if this is not your second language. This may be your first language. That's fine. I will walk you through it step by step with this curriculum. And by going over this curriculum, I am going to show you how to understand and read documentation. So this has 2 folds here. So keep following along. Thus, we'll move quickly through the syntax rules and procedural basics of the language, i.e., how does one write a for loop in Java, a conditional statement. As you've likely heard before, once you grasp the fundamentals of programming in one language, learning another becomes much easier. Professional software developers often work in environments involving several programming languages, so it's wise to start learning new ones early on in your career. Beyond the basics of programming, in Java, you'll learn some key object-oriented concepts, OO of the OOP, to enhance the capabilities of your programs. You'll also download a program called IntelliJ IDE. What is IntelliJ IDE? If you're coming from Unit 1, you've used a text editor called Visual Studio Code. Now, Visual Studio Code can actually run Java, but we're introducing you to IntelliJ, which is an IDE. The IDE means Integrated Development Environment. It is very powerful. Because we're writing server-side language like Java, we need a little bit more than just a text editor in order to not just only compile Java, but to also connect it with databases. It helps you integrate a lot of different systems with an IDE. So IDE is more powerful than a text editor. But Visual Code Studio is a text editor that you can make it more robust by adding more features to it. So, but an IDE is just more intelligent. That's why they call it IntelliJ for Java. To get more familiar with the tools of Java Developer, in the final lessons of this course, you will use a Java framework called Spring Boot. Now, we said a framework. You're familiar with the framework from JavaScript called Angular, where Spring Boot is a framework as well, and it's built upon Spring. We'll explain it to you as we go forward as well. This framework gives us the scaffolding necessary to create MVC programs. Here's another word or another initials that you need to be familiar with as we go forward. MVC means model, view, and controller. Remember, that's something we're going to drill into your mind as we go forward. Another concept we'll cover: effectively and efficiently. Now, we made it down to 1.1, and we're getting ready to go into 1.2 in the next section. One of the things I want to leave you with, and I'm going to say this over and over again, the more you practice, the more you improve. You have to practice. You want to bookmark these videos and come back and watch them later. You may not get the concepts the first time. It may take you 3, 4, maybe 5 times repetitiously going over the curriculum to finally understand the concepts. Don't get discouraged. Keep studying, keep practicing. Eventually, it's going to make sense. Okay? Thank you and congratulations again for making it to Unit 2. And again, if you're new to this particular channel and you want to follow along with the curriculum, I'll leave a link in the description so you can download it and follow along. It's free. All right. Thank you. And I'll see you in the next section.